Yeah, we're at one of those days. Welcome to mine, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm making it through it anyway. It's just been really bizarre. I don't know. It's nothing specific. It's just weirdness going on. Not just in prepping for the show, but pretty much the day in general. I had a great day. Took the minion out and about because it's his birthday this weekend. So we just did birthday fun stuff for him, and it was great and a lot of fun. But I don't know. It's just, everything else I'm bumping into today just feels like it's got a heavy emotional charge to it. And I don't know what's going on. Maybe it is that Mercury in retrograde stuff. I don't know. I I don't claim to know about a lot about the astrology and astronomy and all of that. I understand there's something to it, and I understand that I have a lot to learn about it. But God bless it, today has just been a real pill. But anyway, I'm here and I'm good to go. Had to relaunch the browser. Had to relaunch it after I launched the show. Had to refresh it because it was still showing offline and stuff. It's just really, it's a day. But anyway, welcome to the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here. You are here. Thank God you're here, and thank God you guys wait for me. But I finally got everything launched, and we're underway, and great to see everybody in there. Hello to all of you in the chat. Let's see who's in here. Let me hit participants and see. I got Belle Prepper in here. Good to see you, Belle Prepper. Sherry Luella is in here. Great to see you, Sherry. Hope everything's wonderful in your world. Deb Varner's in here. Remember, tomorrow night, Deb Varner's going to be here with me. She's going to be in the spotlight doing the psychic readings tomorrow night here on the Paranormal Portal. So that'll be at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope you guys tune in and take advantage of that. I've got Elaine Clifford in here. Hear the minion? I don't know if you can hear him. He's like, oh. Elaine Clifford, good to see you. Wonderful to see you. Gemini Moon, hello. Great to hear from you last night as well. Louis Ta is in here. I know Louis. Louis has been around with us since about the beginning of the portal, so it's wonderful. He's been a longtime friend of the show and just a great guy overall. In fact, he was probably around on my first episode. I think he was probably in the chat room on TFR during my first episode. Louis, were you there? You'll have to let us know. But yeah, that was it's come a long way since then. MCat's in here. Good to see you, brother. Hope everything's going good in your world. Pam is here. Hi, Pam. Randall Electric, how you doing, Randall? And Rivers is here. Thank you all for coming in. I'm sure there's more, but that's the YouTube list. So let's see, who have I missed? Bill Prepper, Suzanne Page. Hi, Suzanne. Viscar, or what? Viscar. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, but hello. Jerry's in here. How you doing, Jerry? How's that leg? I commented on your Facebook post, so I hope you're doing good, brother. Jerry is kind of laid up right now, but we're all sending him all our healing vibes, so hopefully he gets back on his feet pretty soon. Sounds like he's healing up quick, though. Good to hear that, Jerry. And don't push it, though, brother. That's the kind of stuff you don't want to do wrong. Knitting bones is it's a time-consuming process, and you only heal as fast as you heal, brother. So don't get ahead of yourself. Let's see, anybody else I might have missed? I think that's everybody. I'm going back to the more recent messages. I don't think I missed. Oh, Duck Sauce, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. He did a sigh. It's like I caught that right away. I guess that's one way to get my attention. So don't eat worms, I don't think. Oh, good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've got some stories lined up. I hope I can read them tonight. On top of everything else that's been going sideways, I hope at least I can do the show okay. Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. Like right away today, I got up and somebody made a post, and I'm not going to go into the specifics of the post, but essentially, I was agreeing with their position. With a lot of ideologies are out there right now, and there's a lot of people really slanting things and taking them to a weird angle. And I was like, I don't agree with that too. And I don't know if the person that posted it didn't really read what I wrote, or if they just didn't like me and somehow were on my friends list anyway. But I made a comment which was in agreement with the original poster, and bam, next thing I know, I'm getting these cussy messages in Facebook. I'm like, oh, what's going on? So and then like right away blocked. I'm like, holy God, what just happened? It just seems to me people are so supercharged right now. They're just so wound up and full of energy, and they're so excited to lash out at anything. And I guess I was just that thing. I don't know. I really don't know what happened, but and granted, it's just one person out of a myriad of people. But I never try to go out of my way to offend anybody. I try to treat people well, and hopefully in retrospect, I'll be treated well. I mean, it's the golden rule, right? But man, that person was just wound up and just loaded for bear. And is that important in the whole scheme of things? No, it's just social media, and it is what it is. But I do think it speaks to the barometer out there right now, that people are so angry and they're so charged and they're so ready to just hit at anything that moves. And it's really it makes me feel uncomfortable, because we shouldn't be that way. We should just be cool and try to get along, and understand we have disagreements, and understand that everybody's got their own opinion, and that's okay. But man, people are just ready to shove foots in the parts that I guess require foots from time to time. But yeah, it was just really disappointing. So, but it is what it is. It's social media. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But I think it does speak a lot to the way people are treating people right now, and hope we can get that all sorted out. But anyway, I got some stories pulled up. Again, I hope I can read them and get through them tonight. I'm feeling a little frazzled today, but I'll do my best. I'll give you my best, ladies and gentlemen, because I love you guys, and this is what I do. So I'll try to do it well. First one's coming out of New York, and the first one is saying, I live in a house that has had some paranormal activity since we moved in 4.5 years ago. My family experiences shadow people. voices, full apparitions. We only captured orbs on camera, but have picked up some EVPs. And on top of this general activity that we experience, my 13-year-old daughter is a sensitive that regularly sees and speaks with spirits, both in our home and other locations. My family, husband, 13-year-old daughter, 17-year-old daughter, and I go on paranormal investigations as much as we have the opportunity. And it seems the more investigations we do, the more we open ourselves up to the paranormal experiences in our home and elsewhere. I would say there's probably the more you're bringing home with you is my guess. Yeah, when you do paranormal investigating, I really think it's important to have an opening procedure, whether that's a prayer, whether it's some kind of ritual, whether it's just, statements, that you're saying, I'm just trying to come here in peace and respect. And when you're done, you close it, with whether it's a prayer or some sort of ritual, or you say, I'm leaving now. You are not allowed to follow me. You have to stay here. I think people just forget about that. And just in the moment, they're just like, hey, we're done. Boy, I'm tired. I want to get to bed. Get in your car, go home. And next thing you know, your furniture's moving. It's like, well, you brought something with you, I think. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing investigating. And it's, quite honestly, it's not something that's showcased on a lot of the paranormal television shows and stuff that most people use to get an idea of what paranormal investigating is. They think... a lot of people think, and maybe it's more ghost hunting, but a lot of people think you get a voice recorder, you get an EVP detector, you get a flashlight, and a night vision camera, and you just go and you ask questions, and it's really cool. But true investigating and true safe ghost hunting should have some more preparations and closings to them to make sure you don't bring more home with you. But that's my 2 cents on this story. I'll continue reading it to so we can hear what's going on for these people. This is one of my experiences. One day recently, I had the opportunity to veg around the house watching television. Not done very often. And I was laying on the bed with the bedroom door shut. The only other living person in the house was my 17-year-old daughter. And she was in her bedroom in the basement on the other end of the house. And I heard someone go into the main bathroom, which is on the other side of my closet wall, and turn on the shower. The shower stayed on for 5 to 10 minutes and then shut off, and I thought nothing of it at the time, thinking my daughter had stayed up late and was taking a late afternoon shower. And then I heard a child's voice say, "Mommy?" Ugh. I got up off the bed and crossed the room, thinking it was my daughter wanting me to get her a towel out of the linen closet in the hallway, which is a frequent occurrence. And I remember thinking to myself that my daughter's voice sounded a lot more youthful than her age of 17, but attributed to the door being shut and echoes from the small bathroom, etc. And when I entered the hallway to open the closet door, I glanced at the bathroom door, and I was puzzled because the door... You gotta be shitting me. You gotta be kidding me. I just got touched in the back of my neck. Let's see, where was I? Sorry, I don't mean to cuss, but that one actually surprised me. That doesn't happen very often. When I entered the hallway to open the closet door, I glanced at the bathroom door, and I was puzzled because the door was full open and the lights were out. I immediately knew that it wasn't my daughter who had taken a shower and called out, "Mommy, Mommy is here." Or I called out, "Mommy is here, do you need something? Are you there?" I paused and waited for a response, but none came. And I also saw no one or heard no movement. After a couple of minutes, I went down to my daughter's room and confirmed with her that she had not taken a shower and had not called my name. It was a cold day in late fall, so I know the windows were closed. I never did determine the source of the voice, the child calling out to Mommy, and stupidly I didn't even think, or at the time, to look in the tub to see if it was wet. That would have been really freaky. My younger daughter has seen a little boy peeking up the stairway near the bottom door, and maybe it was him taking a shower that afternoon. I wish he'd waited around for the towel. Yeah, that was bizarre. It's my rule never to cuss on the show, and I apologize if that offends anybody. I always like to keep this family friendly, but as I was reading that story, I felt a finger slide on the back of my neck, and I'm sure if you watch the replay, you'll see my reaction. It was like, what the hell? So my apologies. Again, it doesn't weird me out or anything. It's just unexpected. I wasn't expecting a caress right now. So I got that going for me, I guess. Maybe that just means the day's going to get better. Oh, God. All right. Here we go. That was the first story. So, yeah, it was really creepy. And ladies and gentlemen, I give you my word, my vow on everything that I love, that I have no interest in fabricating sensationalism in order to make the show appear more interesting. I just wouldn't do that. I don't care that much about the attention in order to jeopardize my integrity. So if there's anybody out there going, yeah, right, okay, go show, okay, I swear on all that I love that I would never do that. I will never fabricate any hoaxes for the show. If I tell you something happened, you can be sure that it happened, or at least I firmly believe it happened. So please keep that in mind. All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what's going on. It is turned on, Duck Sauce. The ghost box is on. Hasn't detected anything, so that's, but again, now the ghost application uses a computer's magnetometer. Now, a computer's magnetometer is not a robust EMF detection field like you get in a handheld tool. It's a very specific range. So it may be able to indeed pick up EMF spikes, but it's only going to be in a very specific range. So it's not going to be robust like a handheld EMF detector would. So that's the problem with these, phone apps or computer apps, is that they don't have the robust range of a full EMF field detection. They only have a very specific range. Now, I do believe they still can detect a shift in the EMF field as long as it hits that range. And whether that means, it's I don't know how that speaks to the intensity of the apparition or the presence, but whether it's a much lower presence will trigger that, or a much higher presence, I don't know. But if I had a full field EMF detector, I'm sure it would maybe have triggered at this point. I don't know. But really weird. That was really weird. It was just like a finger glided across my neck, and I was like, what the hell? So, and again, if, those of you who've been around know I don't cuss during my show. It's kind of my iron rule. And so the fact that I did should let you know that it was definitely unexpected. Okay. So, older male. Well, it could be my dad then, Deb. I don't know. He's never been a caresser in all of his life. My dad was a very stoic person, so this would be a new move on his part. It could very well be, though. I gotta see, what else did Deb say? Anything else? I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't able to watch the chat all the way through, so let's continue on and see if anything else happens. What else is people saying here? Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe he's poking me. I've been thinking about him a lot lately. Talking to Mom, she says a lot of stuff is still going on at the house there. And so I believe he's, making the rounds, so to speak. And with his, his mother, my grandmother passing as well recently, that's, I guess it's cool they're together. I believe they are. I sure hope my dad came and got her, brought her home. So, but yeah, that was really unexpected. Wow. All right. So this one's coming out of Texas. It says, I guess shadow people are real. I never thought about talking about what I saw until I happened to read a story about them. I always considered our house to be a haunted place, but in a strange way that most houses aren't. Our house is, to this day, only 14 years old and was built on brand new ground. Well, there's no such thing as new ground. It may not have had a house before, but it was ground that's been around for a long time and maybe saw tragedy. I say new ground because sometimes a haunting can occur in a new house that was built on top of ground that something else may have been haunting. But this house was built over wooded land. They chopped down trees and built a subdivision. I feel this is important to mention because you'd think, and most people do think, that this would negate a house from being haunted. Not true. I understand what this person is saying, and there is logic to what they're saying, but it certainly doesn't preclude the ability for a house to acquire a haunting. And the land itself may have been very sacred to Native Americans, and that may be part of the issue as well. Just as a side note, but it said, we have this one room above our garage, which is a guest room. And over the years, we've jokingly referred to it as the grandpa room. Another story for another day. And now I've had 3 grandparents die on me in the last couple of years, and none of them have been without paranormal occurrences. There's 3 spirits that pass through from time to time, no big deal. There's my grandparents, or no big deal, they're my grandparents. Well, I've always neglected to speak of the 4th. It's not my grandparents, and I feel that they're all the time in that guest room watching me. When I left for college, my sister got my room because it got its own. It has its own bathroom attached, so now my bedroom is the guest room. And when I come home for the summer and winter breaks, these things feed off your fear. And I kid you not, I'm an engineer, and I looked at this thing from a mechanical and experimental viewpoint. If you have this thing that seems to manifest itself when you get scared, why not turn it into a sort of paranormal experiment? Well, I did. I sat there and allowed myself to get scared, really, really scared. And I let the fear build up, and sure enough, I started to get this feeling that I was being watched. I had never been able to sleep in that room, and I had always gotten an uneasy feeling when I was in there. Come to think of it, we have 2 dogs who frequent the upstairs, and I have never seen either of them in there. Well, I got up and turned around and didn't see anything, so I asked the empty room out loud why I couldn't sleep. And this voice returned, "Get out. This is our room." Well, I'm not sure if this was auditory or not, but I definitely heard it. The funny thing about it is the moment you leave the room, everything is all right. I usually slept in our game room just outside of that room on the couch and was never bothered except for one night when I decided to totally ignore the presence. I was trying to sleep on the couch outside of the room one night when it seems the presence decided it was cool to leave the room. Now this sucks because you can't see the damn thing, but you most definitely can feel it in the room with you. And I just went downstairs and slept on the couch down there, and with the TV on, I felt safe. Well, I realized I hadn't brushed my teeth and washed my face and whatnot, so I finally worked up the courage to walk back upstairs and over to the guest room where my stuff was. And when I walked up the stairs and got to the top, I came face to face with this thing. Let me go into a little more detail about this thing. I saw it for about 2 full seconds and got a very clear view of what it was. I definitely saw this, and I don't know why I put off ever talking about it. It was definitely a shadow, yet it was 3-dimensional. It had depth, and it was about 5 feet tall. I'd say approximately a foot shorter than me by comparison, given in my memory. And I was close to this thing too, about a foot away. And it flew right past me really, really freaking fast. Yet I still got a good look at it. What got me was at first I thought it was a monk. It was looking down at the ground, and I got the feeling that it did not want to be seen. Looking at it, I got the feeling that it wanted to be something noticed in the background, but not ever directly seen. I don't remember clearly whether or not it had arms, but it almost appeared to be wearing a cloak with a hood on. It was a big, wavy, flowing cloak that seemed to have ragged pieces trailing behind it. It was running in the opposite direction of me, and I was going up the stairs, and when I got to the top, the thing just ran around me as to not touch me and ran down the stairs. It was dark, just like a shadow, but with 3 dimensions instead of 2. Now, I completely blew this off as a hallucination until I did a little research on shadow people through Google. Try going to Wikipedia and looking up shadow people. There's 2 pictures on there. In the second picture, it shows 2 sketches. I saw the thing on the right. I saw that exact thing. I couldn't have asked for a better picture of what I saw. The only thing is, I don't remember seeing eyes. But then again, the thing wasn't trying to look at me. So, very interesting. An encounter with the shadow people. Or a shadow person, anyway. Not good at all. Holy Lord. This is... Got to go down, 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 down. Somehow my page mark got lost. There we go. This one. And I got to open some more stories for you guys. And this. Okay, let's open those and see how we go. Next one is from Florida, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I got a call here. Let me get to this call first. This is our good friend, Mr. MCat. Mr. MCat, you're on the air with me.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good.
Oh, turn that off.
Okay. I'm not sure what that is, but good idea.
That's just truck stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
Lets me know when I'm out of the lane.
Oh,
I'm passing a guy. I want to give him enough space.
You're not sharpening up the gears.
Oh, now he wants to race me.
Oh. Give him hell.
Yeah, oh, that's good. Well, the truck only goes so fast, so we'll see.
That's true.
No, he's going to pass me back.
Okay, gotcha.
No, now he's going to let me pass him. He's indecisive. Anyway, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I believe I just got touched a few minutes ago, but other than that, I'm doing wonderful.
I heard that. Is that the first time that's happened?
No, I've been touched several times before, but never on the back of my neck while I'm reading a story. That was a first.
That's a bit unnerving.
Yeah.
That's a bit unnerving.
Yeah, that was really strange. Right in the back of my neck. Ugh. It was a bit creepy.
Yeah. Yep. A little bit.
Yeah.
It's got the massagey ghost back there.
Well, if it did a little deep tissue, I'd be okay, but it was just that glancing finger is like, yeah. How about you? You been touched?
A couple of times, yeah.
Yeah.
Once on my arm, once on the back of my head, and then once I had a jacket pulled.
Oh, okay. A jacket pulled. I think you mentioned that.
Yeah, I was laying. Yeah, I was in the basement on. Thank you, I appreciate that. I was sitting in the basement, and they had put their basically made their master suite in the basement.
Uh-huh.
And so I sat in the closet, and I heard a jacket on the left side getting pulled on sharply.
Okay, you said you heard, and then you went blank, and then suddenly you came back and said jacket. So I think we lost part of that.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I heard a growl, and then my jacket got pulled sharply on the left side.
Oh, yeah. Growls are usually a real bad sign.
It was definitely strange. But that's all that happened to that. So anyway, the reason I called, I was just come off some home time, and while I was home, I had this happened 2 nights in a row, and I'd been out all night at the casino, and I came home, got in bed, and it felt like somebody was sitting behind the bed, punching the side of it as hard as they could.
Oh, wow!
Just one or two times. It happened like twice, And then they'd say, "Will you knock it off and try to get some sleep?" And so my roommate comes in because he's wondering what I'm yelling at, and a shadow just ran out of the room behind him. Oh. And I was like, well, I guess it's going to bother somebody else now. So,
how was your roommate about that? Was the roommate open-minded to all this?
They know what I'm into, so I was just like, you don't worry about it. It's fine.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That is intense.
It's definitely off-putting when you're trying to sleep, and you know, and I don't know where it's coming from. I mean, it could be something from the neighboring apartment, but nobody's in there right now, so it's not that. It's something weird.
How long ago was this?
So when did I go to the casino? Went to the casino on Saturday, so it would have been Saturday and Sunday this last weekend.
Now, here's something interesting. I just did a podcast with Dan Pruitt, who you met when we did the Roundtable show, and he's been on the show before as well. But he's under the impression that there's more going on right now, that there's more activity going on than maybe ever, or maybe at least in a long time. What is your thoughts on that?
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I think that some of it could be more people are opening up to this idea of the paranormal or spirits.
Sure.
Like it's not the taboo thing that it used to be.
Sure.
And more people are talking about it. That could have some type of impact, but I don't know if there's more cases or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I don't disagree with Dan. I think there may be something very much to that. I really do think that on a global scale, I mean, just look at how emotionally charged the atmosphere is right now everywhere. You know, people are responding to some kind of some kind of energetic shift, and perhaps that same energetic shift could be creating more paranormal energy for these things to manifest through or something. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea. And I guess, I don't know. It could be either way. You're right, though. I'm sure more people are talking about it than ever before. I do agree with you.
Yeah, that's interesting that people do seem like they're a lot more wound up nowadays than normal.
Yeah, they sure do. And I think some of it is orchestrated. Obviously, there's people playing on both sides and winding up the agitation in our society and in our cultures. And in fact, on Facebook recently, I said, "Remember, politics is a circus, but the sad part is we're the ones performing." And really, they've got us dancing through hoops, and we're all just tuning in and checking out what we should be pissed at next, and it's just such a hypercharged atmosphere right now, and I really hope that it means that something's going to give and things are going to get better, But I'm concerned in that I think that the emotional charge is going so deep that it could be some blood, sweat, and tears on this one. I don't know. It's got me nervous.
I hope not.
Me too.
I hope that. The thing I noticed about being on the road all the time, I don't watch the news hardly ever.
Me either, yep.
And it changes, I think unplugging from that system, you get to kind of decompress a bit because you're just not enveloped in it all the time. And really, I couldn't do it all the time anyway because it's just so tough to do every single day. You got to listen to all this nonsense and it's going back and forth, and the pendulum swings from one side. Once you get away from all of that, it's really freeing.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, since I've quit watching any kind of network news, except for what I catch in snippets on the internet. But, I was finding myself after every broadcast just being upset. and just being stressed and just being tense because of all of the crap that they choose to single out and show. And you know, they're just going for ratings and stuff, but it's like, my God, there's such a gravity to it all, and it's not good for us. The news is not good for us.
No, I would agree. I think that getting away from that and turning that off, I think would be is beneficial. I think it's a lot more healthy to be without that. I think that you should stay informed.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think there are ways to keep current on things without just getting wound up every single night about, you know, what to worry about next.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of shadow people, did you ever run into any more, or was that your biggest one?
Oh, I always run into. I see shadow people just about everywhere.
I don't doubt that. And ladies and gentlemen, in case you're not aware, MCat, or Mike Hetzel, is also a paranormal investigator. So he does get out there and has boots on the ground in the paranormal world. Huh. That's pretty intense, brother.
Well, it's just another experience to chalk up in the books. You know, somebody wanted to get my attention. They got it.
Yeah.
Worked like a charm.
Ditto. Ditto for me tonight anyway, brother. But I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in, and it's always a pleasure to hear from you, brother.
Oh, you betcha, man. I'll let you get back to it, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right, man. Bye.
All right, and we got another call here, and this is from area code 770. You're on the air. Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Hello?
Hello, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Oh, I didn't know that I was live. I just thought I was leaving a message, man.
No, man, I brought you right
I'm watching your recent video from recently about the dark side of Bigfoot.
Oh, right.
And it's probably the best podcast I ever heard in my life.
Oh,
I listen to Bigfoot Chronicles.
Yep.
And I've had a couple of experiences late at night in my life and some other weird stuff in my life. And I'm almost 65 years old, but it's like, you know, I never talked to anybody about it. I talked to Peter Byrne once, if you know what that is.
I recognize the name. Yep. That's really cool.
You know, he is a big game hunter, and he moved to Dallas, Oregon, and had the Bigfoot Research Center or something. And I talked to him on the phone. He was gracious, invited me to drive down there and have coffee and tell my experience. But I never believed in Bigfoot until I had my first close encounter, 4 a.m, right up against a window next to an undeveloped highway going through Portland, Oregon during salmon season, and a low growl, which wasn't loud, but it was clear, at 4 a.m, made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. And I never believed your hair could stand up on the back of your neck.
Wow.
And then about 2 years, well, my friend went outside. He had a party, and I showed up after I got home from work, and I didn't want to get all drunk and everything. So I went home, lifted weights for an hour and a half, showed up at his house at 2. Nobody was there. Knocked on his door and invited me in. And I drank 2 week beer or 4 week beers over a 4-hour period. And it was dark in the room. And then all of a sudden I hear this moan, growl that kind of went, I can't imitate it. I can't get deep enough. It was so deep. It was like 12 stories in the basement.
Wow.
And it was like, but it was quiet, but it was so powerful. Made the hair stand on the back of my neck. And then I heard it twice. You know, first time I didn't believe it happened because I'm like, what was that? And probably about 30 seconds later, I heard the same thing again. Like it was curious and just going like, what is this? I'm in the window looking at humans. And I said, Rick, I'm whispering. I said, Rick, did you hear that? That dude was trashed from his party. He stood up off the couch because his neck was next to the window. He stood up and he goes, what was that? Is somebody getting their butt kicked? Oh, you want to go out and check it out? And about that time, it'd been a couple hours and like 4 beers. I mean, they're not powerful beers.
Sure.
Just normal 12-ounce weak beers. And I'm like, nah, I got to go pee. I didn't want to go outside. So I went in the bathroom, and of course, it's at the back of the house, like where I heard the sound, and there's no curtain. And I'm like, relieved myself by halfway so my bladder didn't hurt.
Sure.
Then I went up the bathroom. Dude crashes through the door. Apparently, what he did is he went outside and peed in his front yard. Oh. And he said something that looked like a very tall man, and it was dark out, so he couldn't see nothing but a silhouette. Walked by this 60 station wagon, made a right turn, and my car was parked out front. Mm-hmm. He said it took about 3 steps, and I figured that he didn't see it step all the way past the car because of peripheral vision or whatever. Stopped and twisted at the waist and looked at him. And then he turned around and bolted to the house.
Wow.
And when I came out of the bathroom, he busted through the door. I'm like, what's going on? He slammed the door shut, locked the door, and then put the little chainy lock on it, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
And then it took at least a minute or 2 minutes to get him to shut up because he was talking so fast. I couldn't understand a word he said. And he said this thing was extremely hunched over at the waist, hands down below the knees, but he couldn't see any details. And he said when it took steps, it made it like a nasal sound, like huh, huh, huh.
Wow. That is really.
And
intense.
I called. I mean, this happened like in about 1979.
Okay.
And I called him about a year ago. He don't remember anything. And I get it because he was trashed.
Sure.
And partying. And I went back there about 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was like a procrastinator, and the sun was going down. And I said, well, maybe it's a Prince.
Yeah.
Well, across the street from his house, and of course they were building a highway from the south side of Portland to the north side where the Columbia River is. And all the houses were tore down, but they still had shrubbery and stuff from the yards still there. And it was like a pathway that goes 2.5 miles.
Oh, man.
And across the street from his house, there's an opening. They have like the sound wall. You know what a sound wall is on a highway?
Sure.
Where they build a concrete block up about 6 feet tall to block the sound from the highway.
Yeah.
But it was opened up so trucks could get in and out. So I got on my hands and knees, went to the side, and I looked down into the dust. And the dust was only about 1/16 of an inch, but it was as fine as talcum powder. And because the sun was so low, I saw a clear arch print and 4 toes. And the big toe was at least 2 inches big. Oh. And I'm thinking, well, that ain't nothing real because there's only 4 toes. Everybody's got 5 toes.
Right.
And then the next print was about 6 feet apart. And I found another print. Then I went back and checked it again. And I go, oh, this one's a left footprint. The next one's a right footprint. The next one's a right footprint. I go, holy crap.
Wow.
I had no clue because I didn't believe in Bigfoot. I thought, well, maybe the bottom of snowman is real, but this stuff ain't real. I don't believe in that stuff at all.
Right. Man.
Yeah. And then to the left, toward the north side of town, probably about 2 blocks away, where there's a street. And, of course, when there's a street that overpasses this area they're at, it's an underpass. And there's a bunch of sand and everything. There's a bunch of human footprints. I found one big dent in the ground that was like huge. Oh. Just one. Which makes me think it came from the Mount St. Helens area, because north of Portland it gets mountainous and woody, and then south of it, probably about another mile from where we were at, is Columbia River, and the salmon were running in. Later, I kind of figured out maybe it was either traveling or headed down there to eat some salmon.
Right.
I didn't believe in this stuff, so I started researching it, as an amateur, and I read what's that guy's name? Paul Green or whatever.
Yeah, John Green, I think.
John Green.
Yep.
I read one of his books, and he described the basic description of a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Big, tall, looks humanoid, hunched over at the waist, hands down the knees. I go, damn, that's what Drunken Rick told me.
Wow.
And I saw the prints, and like I said, they were only in about 1/16 of an inch of dust, but they were clear because the sun was down so low that it accentuated the arches of the toes and the heel print.
Right. Man.
And I'm like, I went home, told my wife, she thought it was just like crazy. Okay, going from that, 2 years later, I went with my cousin. I live out in Oregon. This place looks like Jurassic Park.
Oh,
sure. I don't know if you've ever been out there.
Oh.
Estacada area is a very famous area. They used to have a big wooden statue of Bigfoot and all this stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe in that stuff. We're like, it wasn't out in Estacada, but we're out at this place. It's a swimming hole. It's good during the summer on a sandy river. It's about 20 feet across. The river rises and falls.
Sure.
And it was about 10 in the morning. And of course, it's in the 70s. Well, no, it's in like about 1982. And me and my cousin, I stayed over at his house and say, hey man, let's go somewhere. So we cruised down there, said, hey man, let's go down here and smoke,
Sure.
I don't know, the roly-poly. And we went down there, and where I parked my car, and I had big headers on the car, loud exhaust.
Sure.
Parked the car, you had to go up over a little rise and walk about 20 feet down the embankment to get the river. We went down there, and my cousin kind of quipped off to me, it'd be funny if we saw Bigfoot. As soon as he said that, we saw a clear print right next to the river. He said it was 6 feet away. I talked to him like yesterday.
Uh-huh.
I said, no, the sand was dry, and right up about 2 feet next to the water, the sand was wet, and there was a fresh, newly born print that was at least 1.5 inches deep, and I had like a size 11.5 foot
mm-hmm.
with a Converse high top shoe, if you know what a Converse are.
Sure.
The old tennis shoes back in the day.
Yep.
Before all the high dollar shoes.
Yep.
And I tried not to disturb it, and I stuck my foot in there, and it cleared from the front to the back, side to the side, at least 1 inch in all directions.
Wow.
And like he mentioned last night, he said, yeah, around the edges of the print, the sand had not fallen down at all. It was like crisp and clear. Then he looked at me and he goes, you want to stay here? And I go, no.
You might have just pushed it out of there when you guys came in.
What I think happened here, I had these big Texas tailpipes on the side of the car.
Yeah.
In my 75 Camaro. I pulled up there, and I think whatever it was got spooked. And I swam across that river. I almost drowned because I can't swim worth a crap.
Oh.
And I had to borrow an inner tube from somebody and swim with one hand to get on the other side.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't then. That was like, before.
Sure.
But it's only like 20 feet across. And then on the other side, it's a bunch of trees, and it goes uphill at a very steep slope.
Oh.
And I told Stuart, my cousin, I said, I think whatever it was right there, got out of there, went across, and was probably looking at us from the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
because these things ain't stupid.
No, and many researchers and other people have stories of them just sitting watching us. It's like we're their entertainment.
Well, I get that. That's why I think it came up to the house because the first story when I was in Portland,
mm-hmm.
and they were building I forget what the name of the highway is. They built a bridge across Columbia River, but everything was undeveloped. And I actually drove up there later in the middle of the night, like 4 a.m, went to the end of town, the north side, and I looked, and it looked like a big black strip going through Portland to go to north to the Columbia River, which is next to Washington State. Mm-hmm. And then it all of a sudden kind of turned because there's a mountain there, kind of not a mountain, but a Rocky Butte is what they call it. They used to have a prison there. And then it looks like it curves off. And I think if it walked down there, it was looking down there and goes like, oh, this road ends. And if you look to the right where my friend's house was and the wall was open, there was enough trees that looked like forest. And I think it just crossed the road thinking, well, maybe I need to go here.
Right.
And then it had good enough night vision and saw a human laying on a couch, drunk, passed out buddy. And then it goes like, but it was a deep growl. I mean, it sounded like 1,200 pounds of rock crawl, like the old Egyptian movies when the wall opens.
Yeah.
But it was not loud. It was quiet, but it was so clear.
Right. Wow.
And I would not leave that house for that first incident.
Mm-hmm.
It happened at 4 a.m, and I would not leave that house till like about 7 o'clock, well after light.
Right.
It totally freaked me out, and I didn't believe in this stuff or nothing. And then, like I was saying, 2 years later, we found that print, and it was clear as could be. Now, the print had 5 toes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't know, well, maybe I can get some plaster and sprinkle it and make a cast, or
sure.
I didn't think to stop me, put my foot next to it to see how deep it would go. It was just like at least an inch in the front and the back. It was 2 inches longer than my foot, so it was at least 14 inches long and probably 6.5 inches wide, and it had 5 clear. They were crystal clear in the sand toes.
Right. Wow.
And to this day, me and my cousin talk about it. And then the last thing that happened to me happened in 2010. I went back in the Army later, and then I ended up living in Douglasville, Georgia, on the west side of Atlanta. And Atlanta is a town that is basically a city built in a forest. And I didn't know that till recently. I read that online. I'm like, yeah, because that's what I thought. I said, man, there's a lot of trees around here. There's strips of trees. And they're everywhere. So I'm like 2 miles from where I live now, and I'm sitting at the back of my mother-in-law's house about 1:30 in the morning. The weather was it was like August 2010, I believe it was. And, she won't go outside when it's hot, but it was cool enough. She came out and talked to me, and we talked for about an hour. Then I hear something weird that, I would not be surprised if you laugh because it sounds unbelievable, but all of a sudden I'm hearing something that goes, ook, ook. It's like a damn cartoon ape.
Oh.
And it wasn't loud, but it was clear. And it sounded like it was up in a tree about 200 feet away. Unfortunately, the street light at the corner of back of her property was burned out. And the other street light was about 200 feet away, so you couldn't see nothing. Okay. And everything that happened after that was about an equally spaced amount of time.
Wow.
I can't judge the time because how time gets warped when you're freaked out.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Might have been 30 seconds, but my brain's telling me it was about 2 minutes apart. I hear, ook, ook, 2 clear ooks. I'm like, ape ooks?
Yeah.
All right. I hear it again about 2 minutes later. And it sounded like it was, later I pointed my arm up when it was daylight with my eyes closed, and opened my eyes, and it pointed right through this tree that had many branches on it. All right. Which was in between the back of one row of houses and the back of another row of houses. 8 houses down, there's a creek. And then to my left, this is to my right, and then to my left, if you went behind our house, there's a big, the neighbor's got a bunch of cedar trees that are about 40 feet tall. And then there's another house, and it's clear, and then it goes down to another creek.
Wow.
There's no house down there because they can't build a house because I guess it's not developable. But anyway, which later I guess that it was trying to get back from where it was to the other creek and probably passed through, I'm guessing, before I went outside. But anyway, after another 2 minutes, I hear this, ook, ook. And my brain's telling me it was about 6 foot tall, 300 pounds. That's all. It wasn't so powerful like that first encounter I had.
Right.
Because I swear to God, the first encounter I had sounded like the neck was 2 foot wide.
Yeah.
Even though it was quiet, it sounded so deep and guttural that made my hair stand up on the back of my neck.
That's amazing.
Even being quiet. I couldn't wrap my head around it because I didn't believe in this stuff. Anyway, going back to the last story, then another 2 minutes later, I hear, ook, ook. and it sounded like it was lower to the ground. Okay, fine. And my mother-in-law, the first time she heard it, she goes, "What was that?" And I go, "I don't know." And we all pulled the brave routine. Nobody freaked out and left because we didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And she was like in her mid-60s. I was probably hitting 60 myself.
Wow.
Then it changed. Then it got a little bit closer in the dark. It was, like I said, it was about 2 a.m. Then it goes, ook, ook. And then it does this imitation of a crow. Caw, caw. And I knew it wasn't a real crow. Didn't sound like no crow out in Georgia. It sounded more like a crow out in Oregon. But I knew it was an imitation. It wasn't a real crow.
Okay.
And it did that another 2 or 3 times. And each time it did it, it got closer.
Ooh.
Until it seemed like it was about, I don't know, maybe 100 feet away. The last time it did it, it closed the gap by half.
Oof.
It was across the street, and we were sitting about maybe, the yard. We're sitting about maybe 50 feet from the street. So it was probably another 30, 40 feet on the other side. And it got incredibly close, and it didn't get louder. It did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like doing a matter-of-fact sound. Like it wasn't trying to terrorize us or nothing, but it was letting us know that it was there, didn't like us there, wanted us to leave, but it was gentle. The last time it did that, I stood up and I said, "Hey, Miss Pat, get in the house." And of course, she's old and slow, and she had to pick up her cigarettes and pick up her lighter. And I literally, when she got all her stuff together, and it seemed like forever, but it probably only took about a minute, I wanted to push her through the door because I was freaked out.
Right. Now, the interesting part is that other people have heard them make that sound, that more primate kind of sounds. Les Stroud, in his encounter up in the Alaska islands, the islands off the coast of Alaska, he was doing the Survivor Man series and bumped into one up there, and he heard the like that. So them making primate sounds is not unheard of, much like the great apes.
It was just 2 ooks.
Yeah.
Which reminded me of cartoon shows.
Right.
Ook, ook.
Wow.
And I'll tell you one more thing.
Sure.
I live 2 miles away, and we're at the end of a cul-de-sac.
Mm-hmm.
And even though there's a house maybe about 100 feet on the other side of the creek, because we're at the end of a cul-de-sac, and there's a creek down here, a small creek, but it's pretty cool because there's little rapids and giant boulders and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And there's a series of stone stacks. 2 of them are on a tree stump, and then there's one to the right, one to the left, and they're at angles. And it took a while, but I went and checked it out, and I'm like, wow, that's almost like a map, because it's up a hill to get to this house. This house is 2-story, got a bottom deck and a top deck. And I go, that kind of corresponds to this house. Wow. And then to the right, there's an apartment complex, and the angle of it almost corresponds to that. And then the nearest house to the left, the other rock. And I've had people tell me, oh, it's probably hikers. And I'm like, man, we're in the middle of a town. If anybody can't figure out where they're at hiking, they don't need to make stones, because I know hikers will do that out in the woods.
All right.
And the other thing was about behind that, about 50 feet behind it, there's kind of some brush.
Mm-hmm.
And for like the last 3 years, there was like 2 trees about 40 foot tall. They were like dead trees, stripped of branches, and they were crossed into a perfect X pattern.
Oh, wow.
Which a couple of months ago, they disappeared. I think they fell down. But because there's snakes out here, I ain't going out there and looking at it until it gets cold.
Right. No, that's intense.
And I've read about the teepees and the X formations and A patterns and glyphs and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying it is from Bigfoot, but I'm saying, damn, that's kind of weird stuff.
Right.
And I asked my sister-in-law, because I ran a couple rooms here.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Amy, you ever heard anything weird out here or seen anything? And she said about 4 years ago, before her husband passed away, She can't describe how it sounded or what month it was. And I asked her, was your air conditioning on? Because she's got one of those in-the-window air conditioning units in her room.
Right.
We got central air here. But she said she heard monkeys out there.
Oh.
Which really struck me as odd, because I didn't tell her nothing about Bigfoot. It says, you ever heard anything odd out there? She goes, yeah. Before Perry died, one night I heard monkeys. Wow. I'm thinking, yeah, unless a zoo had a wreck and the monkeys got released, there ain't no damn monkeys out there.
Wow.
But, I haven't finished, I think it's from March 29th, the podcast. And this is the first podcast I've watched. So I'm like, milking it up, savoring it. And I'm a little over halfway done with it. The Dark Side of Bigfoot.
Right. Well,
and it's really an awesome podcast. So, I listen to Bigfoot Chronicles, or I used to do, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed because I got a friend who's like into kind of like a new ager or something. She sees fairy lights out in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Every time she goes out, she finds sticks on the ground or this and that. And of course she gifts them with peanut bags and this and that. And I'm thinking that's potentially a recipe to either get raped or killed.
Yeah, that's sketchy. Yeah.
In my gut, I think 99% of them, like in your podcast for when I watch, they want to be left alone.
Right.
They're super smart. I think what they got is what they call a myostatin inhibitor.
Okay.
There's a certain breed of Belgian bulls or something. They are super muscular. Okay. And there's some other animals. They are just naturally super muscular because myostatin keeps you from being able to, get super big and over muscular. But certain animals like Belgian bulls, they are just like, oh man, they make Arnold Schwarzenegger look like he's anorectic.
Right. Yeah, I've seen the.
I got a feeling that's what's going on with these things, unless they're starving.
That's a good point because they are.
And I told my cousin, they're afraid of them. I got lots of ammo. I'm like, you know what? These things will probably see in the dark better than you ever will.
Yeah.
They know their environment. You're out of your element. They can run super fast. They if they could train them to play on a football team, they'd win. They win the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, nothing would stop them. No.
And what I'd like to tell my online friend, which I don't have many online friends that I don't know. I just got on the Georgia Bigfoot Society, and she seems to be the self-imposed spokesperson for it. And I'm like, every time you go out, you find something. What are the odds of that? So I'm kind of skeptical about her.
Oh, okay.
But at the same time, you out and hiking in the woods, female, alone. And I've, just from watching an hour of this, plus I've already bleed my heart, and I've tried to warn her before, 99% of these things want to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
They're comfortable in their environment. They get curious about you or me. They'll come up to your window and peek.
Yeah.
Because you're no threat. If you're a threat, they'll leave, and they'll leave in a hurry.
Yeah.
But there's that 1% out there that's either the old guy that can't chase down a deer no more.
Right.
And if you're out there hiking, la-di-da-di-da, he'll be glad to kill and eat you if he has to.
Sure.
And then there's the other one, the rogue, horny teenager that gets kicked out of the troop, and if he finds a viable female human, he will break her in half.
Yeah.
To get his jollies. I can't prove it. I'm just thinking that's theoretical.
No,
dude, I don't even go out behind the house without looking down the creek, even in the daytime, to the left and the right. And I've got I don't know if you ever heard of cat patio. I got a window with a rabbit cage.
Okay.
For my cats. I don't let them outside, but they got their area. But I put 6 battery-operated security lights on there, so at least if something gets close,
it'll go off.
It'll light up.
Yeah, and that's.
And I've read before where maybe, Squatch don't like lights.
Right.
He can see infrared.
A lot of people use security.
And I don't mean to take up all your time, man. It's just a pleasure to have somebody to vent to, because other than 1980 or 82, I think it was, when I talked to Mr. Peter Byrne, Man, there ain't nobody to talk to.
Oh, there's a lot of us out here, brother.
You know, except
in fact, the person that did the show you're talking about, The Dark Side of Bigfoot, is actually in the chat room here on the channel, and his name is Brian Duke Sullivan, and he has the channel World Bigfoot Radio, and he does a lot of these shows talking about the dark side of Bigfoot.
I think that might have been the one that was advertised in that podcast, because I think that was dated.
Yep.
I said 29 March. I'm sorry. I think it was 29 of June or something.
Yeah.
It's very recent.
Yep.
Because you had like 132 likes and 7 no likes.
Right.
So it was really recent. I don't even know how. I think when I was going through YouTube, I stumbled on it.
Yeah, but yeah, World Bigfoot Radio.
You know, and it's like you just can't talk to anybody about it. It's like, you know, and I've had other weird things happen to me in my life.
Okay. Well,
hey, I was in Korea in 1997, and my cousin had told me that he'd seen some lights in the sky in Portland, same town, and him and his buddy, and they were only like 12 years old, and they were drinking a beer, and one of them joked off, oh, UFOs. And he said all of a sudden, like a 50-foot craft at about 100 feet up in the air at treetop level came over them and then stopped. And then they freaked out and ran in the house.
Yeah.
And my cousin ain't want to make up stories. He ain't about that. He's like the biker dude.
Sure.
I mean, he ain't an outlaw biker, but
to
this day he's got a Harley in his house.
Well, brother, I appreciate you.
And then they ran in the house and watched it, and they said it drifted off. He said it had like a series of colored lights under it. In the middle, looked like fire. Looked like it was aged. Wow. You know, like, you know, had been through, it was like aged. Like, you know, it wasn't all shiny and everything. It was like dark and, you know, splotched and everything. Like he had gone through fire a bunch. Wow. And he said they would look through the window in the house when it ran in, and it drifted off in the distance slowly. And then it was like a white light enveloped it, and then it disappeared. Well, you know,
that's pretty cool.
I believed him because I know my cousin. I know he don't make up a bunch of bullshit stories. Excuse my language.
Yeah, please don't.
But 1997, I was in Korea. You know what night vision goggles are?
Oh, sure. Yep. I'm familiar with them.
All right. I'm looking through military night vision goggles, right? I'm out in Korea on guard duty, like 2 a.m, and what's really cool about them is like, wow, you can see stuff you never saw before. You can look at a tree and see every twig in it. I'm looking at the Big Dipper, and I see like 50 stars in the middle of the Dipper. I'm like, man, I didn't know there was all them stars in the middle of that.
Right.
All right. Even without that stuff, you know, when I was a kid, you'd see a satellite go by. You know, it looked like a star, and it's just drifting. When I was orbiting satellites above the Earth, not the stationary ones.
Right.
And if it's dark enough, you can see them. Okay, I see what I thought was a satellite. All right. Of course, it looks green because everything looks green through night vision goggles.
Right.
And I said, oh, cool, I see a satellite. Well, all of a sudden, this damn thing, it never changed speed. It's drifting across the sky, going from the right to the left. Then all of a sudden, it goes from like heading to 9 o'clock, and then it goes to 3 o'clock, down to 4 o'clock, back to 11 o'clock, up to 1 o'clock. Then it goes back down to, you know, where it started, and then it goes back to the left, continuing its journey at the same speed.
Right.
And I'd already read about that in a UFO book many years ago.
Sure.
I go, man,
there's a lot of them out there, brother.
that's a freaking UFO.
There's stuff everywhere. There really is. But I'll tell you what, we're just an hour show tonight, and we're already over that. It really is cool to hear from you, and I love you sharing your stories. And I'm really thrilled that
hey, I got one more quick one for you too. I got one more quick one if you got time.
We can make time for you. Go ahead.
And I ain't making this up.
I believe you.
All right. When I was at Fort Stewart, Georgia, before I got out of the Army, I lived there for 9 years. Hey, the Army told me, you got to get out of the barracks because there ain't room. We're going to give us some money to live. So I rented a place. It was either a trailer, a trashy trailer, and I found a place that was the top level of a funeral home. All right. And they only did one. They didn't really, they process the body about once a month.
Sure.
And they have a ceremony once a month. But I had a 6-room apartment, and it was drafty and cold, but it was like $400 a month.
Okay.
All right. I was up there one night, and there was nobody out there because I checked. And all of a sudden, I hear boot prints on the ceiling, like 5 or 6 boot steps across the ceiling.
Uh-oh.
And it might be racist and inappropriate, but I just said, I say in the name of Jesus, if you don't bother me, I won't move out, and a bunch of Mexicans move in. And that was probably wrong, but nothing ever happened again. But I went outside and go, there ain't no cars out here. And then 2 days later, I went outside my bedroom door and popped the little access hatch. And I looked up, there wasn't about two and a half stand up there. But I heard it clear as could be. And then years later, I went up to, I think it was Fort Meade, Maryland, a friend of mine. And he's up in an old Army barracks in a dining facility where they used to have horses and everything. And it was old. I mean, it really was historical.
Sure.
And down from where they cooked was a set of stairs with the wall lockers, and then there was a room. It was all dark down there. And then for some reason, I looked at him. I go, man, I sense death. And he looked at me like he'd just seen a ghost.
Ooh.
And he said, during the Civil War, this used to be a mortuary.
Oh, man. That's intense.
I mean, it was just weird. All right, man. Hey, brother, I forget your name.
My name is Brent Thomas, and the show
Brent,
is Paranormal Portal.
Brent.
Yes, sir.
You got. Well, I don't have any way. I ignore all the phone calls I don't ignore. I mean, I don't recognize because all the junk calls. But I'd be glad to talk to you again. I swear, I'm not making any of this stuff.
Oh no,
I'm not making nothing up.
I believe you. There's no question.
I mean, it's just like I'm still, after all these years and these things that have happened, I can't wrap my head around it. But I'm going to go back and finish watching that podcast because I swear that is like the most common sense, practical,
Very cool. Well,
podcast I've ever heard.
I'm really thrilled that you enjoy it, brother. And call in anytime. We'll be waiting for you.
All right. I got your number, man. I'm not going to pest you, but thanks for taking more time than you really needed to with me.
Well, I appreciate you calling.
By the way, I'll be 65 in I don't know, 4 months.
Aw, well, happy birthday if I don't talk to you before then, brother. And thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight.
It's all good. I look like I'm only 40. I only look like I'm 45. Yeah. All right, man.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Brent.
All right. Take care, sir.
Bob.
All right. And that's the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It was a great call. Very good call. It's just, it's hard sometimes to get a word in edgewise, but I understand. He's excited to share his stories. He's never talked to anybody about a lot of these things. So it's cool. And I love hearing people's real experiences. That's what the show is all about. It's fun. And I know it was good for him to get it off his chest, I suppose, because he's never talked to anybody before. But very cool. It's always good to meet new listeners and to hear what's on your mind. And but that's going to wrap it up tonight. But just want you to know I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Hope you find the magic in every day, and remember to smile and laugh as much as you can. And especially now, my God, people are just intense. So lighten up. Everybody just lighten up. Let's all get along. Group hug. Bring it in. Come on. Well, I'm hugging you in my heart. So we'll see you guys. Thanks a bunch for being here, and have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night with Mrs. Deborah Varner here on the Paranormal Portal. We'll get into more of it then. Talk to you then, guys. Sweet dreams.